Today's content is sponsored by our media partner, Antronics.
Now, in some cases, they didn't have enough on the run and they made a call because they didn't want to run a whole new spool. In some cases, they made a decision because there was ductwork that wasn't called out on the map, and they couldn't get it to where I wanted it, so they had to get it as close as possible. But it's important to verify it. And for that, usually somebody just eyeballs it. In a small business setting, they're probably a little bit less challenging to deal with because you're probably only putting one or two out there. And it's sort of, it's obvious where they're going to go. You're going to put it where it's nearest to the customers and those mostly using. And one thing I like to call out, I love to call out proper documentation, because at the end of the day, I might do this design, but I might not be here in a year. Something might happen. I might move on. Whatever the case may be, I don't want to leave the design undocumented so that people don't know what I did and why. So that's important. And then for me, and this is what I was actually doing a couple of weeks ago, is it's important to go back and validate with tools, with measurements, even just testing with a device, a laptop, a tablet, or whatnot, that the deployment went as planned and actually is delivering the service we expected to deliver to the customer.
The way I'm hearing this,
go ahead.
The way I'm hearing this, John, is it's a little more front-loaded when you're doing a Wi-Fi installation. Talking about the tooling and different things. So, like in a wired configuration, you do your survey, you run the wire, and then at the end of it, you can measure, what your signal levels are at that point based on the length of the coax or fiber or whatever. With Wi-Fi, there's so much in there that you mentioned, just about like Wi-Fi or the antenna orientation and polarity, whether it's vertically mounted or horizontally mounted. The radiation patterns of the lobes of the antennas themselves, right, create a space with different signal strengths. And it's so important to like front load that and understand your equipment and the area that you're trying to serve. Because at the end of it, you can't just like walk to the other end of the room and plug a meter into it and say, hey, the signal's good here, right? It feels a little bit more front loaded of understanding your equipment, understanding your antenna design and the construction or the space that you're trying to install, rather than just running a wire and calling it good. Hey viewers, we hope you enjoyed today's video. Today's video was sponsored by Antronics. Multi-taps, line passives, filters, and much more at antronics.com.